the Nama J2 versus the Kuvings REVO830 versus the Hurom H400. We've got the three most epic juicers on the planet, but there can only be one winner. Who's it gonna be? Well, we've put each of these juicers through a series of rigorous tests, and what happened next completely shattered my expectations. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which juicer is best for you, so make sure you keep watching. Both the H400 and the Nama J2 have the same style hoppers, while the REVO830 has two types of feed chutes. One feed chute is for whole fruits and vegetables, while the other feed chute is for celery and carrots. The hoppers on the Nama J2 and the H400 are much more convenient. All you have to do is just load up your fruits and vegetables, flick the switch, and then you can go back to whatever it was you were doing. With the Kuvings REVO830, you've got to stand next to it and feed it produce one by one. I've had this juicer for about a year now, and it didn't really bother me up until recently. Once I got used to the Nama J2 and the Hurom H400, the feed chutes on the REVO830 turned out to be horribly annoying. Now, the REVO830 and the Nama J2 use the same juicing technology. They both have augers that sit inside a stainless juicing screen, but the H400 has something called an all-in-one multi-screw auger, which you can pull apart into two pieces. This auger not only presses the fruits and vegetables, but also separates the juice from the pulp. This type of auger is much easier to clean, but tends to be less efficient when it comes to separating juice from pulp. For me, it didn't really make much of a difference. The REVO830 comes with a sorbet attachment screen. With the Hurom H400, you don't need any special attachments to make sorbets. And then with the Nama J2, they actually want you to pay for a separate attachment, so that's going to cost you extra if you want to use that functionality. But now I got to show you this next part, and make sure you pay attention because I think it's super important when you're making your decision. Let's do a side-by-side comparison and show how quick and easy it is to assemble each of these juicers. For the Nama J2, it took 43 seconds to put together, and for the Kuvings REVO830, it took about 40 seconds to put together. But to be fair, I was doing a lot of thumbs up in the video. This was an older clip that I had from a year ago. And for the Hurom H400, it only took about 12 seconds to assemble. Both the REVO830 and the Nama J2 felt pretty complex compared to the Hurom H400. And for me personally, this turned out to be a huge selling point. I'm more likely to stick to juicing when the juicer only takes 12 minutes to put together. So I'm gonna have to give this point to the Hurom H400. Now, I'm not sure if you noticed, but these juicers are giant. We gotta talk about the weight and size of each one of these. The Hurom H400 weighs about 14.8 pounds, while the REVO830 weighs about 16.5 pounds, and the Nama J2 weighs 12.1 pounds. All three of these juicers are pretty tall and pretty heavy, but I found that all three can fit underneath your kitchen cabinets. Depending on your setup, it might be a little bit close, but I think you can make it work. So the W here goes to the Nama for being the lightest of the heaviest juicers. And if you're worried about waking up your cranky partner or crying baby in the mornings, then you're gonna wanna pay attention to this next part. What I did was I measured the noise levels on each of these juicers, and all three juicers average about 60 decibels in loudness. So you won't have to worry about waking anybody up. And for those who don't know, your average blender is about 100 decibels plus. So not much difference between any of these here, so I'm just gonna call it a tie for this one. But finally, the moment of truth, the moment you've all been waiting for, which one gives you the better juice yield? To make this as fair as possible for each of these machines, I weighed out equal parts of celery and oranges. This isn't an exact science, but I did my best to get these measurements as accurate as possible. Results may vary depending on the size, shape, and juiciness of the individual produce you're using. For each bowl, I weighed out about 11.3 ounces. As I was going to load up the machines, both the Hurom H400 and the Nama J2 were super easy to deal with. The REVO830 was pretty frustrating. I would have preferred if they didn't have that juicing tray at the top, and I think you can actually take it off. No, you can't take it off. In order to fit all the celery into this machine, I had to break it with my hands and push it down the feed chutes. The REVO830 finished first, followed by the Nama J2 and then the Hurom H400. And now let's see how much juice each of these machines were able to make. We'll start with the H400. To make sure I didn't leave any juice in the machine, I made sure to tip each one of these over. The Hurom H400 finished with about 224 milliliters of juice. Next, I wanted to take a look at the pulp by using a sieve. I knew that this one was gonna have more pulp because the juice took a while to drain, but we finally got there. When you're looking at it, you're gonna see there is some pulp in the drink, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move it to a bowl so that we can compare it to the other juicers. All right, next up, we got the REVO830. I'll do the same thing and just tip it over to make sure we've got every last drop. The Kuvings REVO830 finished with about 203 milliliters of juice. Let's see how much pulp was left in the glass by using the sieve. So this one was able to drain a lot quicker, but in terms of pulp, I don't really see a massive difference between this one and the H400. H400. Last but not least, let's check out the Nama J2. To be fair, we'll do the same thing, tip over the machine to get out all the juice. Looks like the Nama J2 finished with about 179 milliliters of juice. Let's whip out the sieve and see how much pulp was left in our glass. Whoa, so the Nama J2 was extremely efficient when it comes to filtering out the pulp from the juice. It looks like it's about half as much as the other two juicers. I'll go ahead and pan out so you can get a clearer comparison of the pulp from each of these machines. And yeah, so there you have it. The Nama J2 had a lower juice yield, but it has a finer juicing screen, which helps it reduce the amount of pulp. Tons of people like to ask about specific ingredients, like how does it do with celery? What about ginger? How dry is the pulp? So I actually spent hours, well, or like days of my time rigorously testing these machines for you. I use identical ingredients for all three juicers, and to accurately assess the juice yield, I picked 4 pieces of produce to measure. These were celery, ginger, oranges, and leafy greens. Here's a squeeze test for celery, here's one for ginger, and here's one for oranges. Last but not least, here's the leafy greens. Now, if you want to see all the details about these machines, I suggest you watch the individual reviews for each of these juicers on the channel, but regardless, I'm going to show you the scorecard for these yields. The Hurom H400 outperforms the other machines in every category except for ginger. And this next part was a real eye-opener for me, and it will probably be an eye-opener for you too. Cleanup time. Let's throw some time on the clock and see how fast we can clean these. I was able to clean the Hurom H400 in 1 minute and 6 seconds, and the REVO830 took about 1 minute 33 seconds, and for the Nama J2 that took about 2 minutes and 6 seconds, which means if you don't want to spend tons of time cleaning your juicer, the H400 makes sense here. Point to the H400. So I've owned the Kuvings REVO830 for about 1 year now, and I've spent about a month with each of these juicers here. And to be honest with you, I've spent years testing out different machines. I wish I could say that there was a perfect juicer. What I found is that the best juicer is the one that you're going to stick with long term. Because I mean, what good is buying a juicer if you're barely going to use it, right? For that reason, I've been consistently sticking with the Hurom H400. I went from maybe juicing once a week to being able to juice sometimes 2 times a day. This is because of how easy it is to clean and how convenient it was to use. Yes, it does make a little bit more of a pulpier juice, but I hardly notice the difference between the two machines, especially the Kuvings REVO830. The Nama J2 is just super efficient when it comes to pulp extraction. So are these bad extracting the pulp? No, I think the Nama is just like really good. At the end of the day, I care more about getting the most use out of my juicer, and if there's little tiny microscopic shavings of pulp that sit at the bottom of my glass, I don't really care about that. And yeah, each of these machines are expensive, but let me ask you something. How much would it be worth for you to look yourself in the mirror and feel amazing? I mean, how much would it be worth to you to go from feeling sluggish to having large bursts of energy? How much would it be worth for you to live your life in the body of your dreams without having to struggle to eat things that you know are good for you? $10,000, $20,000, maybe even like $50,000? Can you even put a price on something like that? So for a $700 investment in your health, it doesn't really seem that bad. Some people even like to use PayPal credit to finance the juicers with 0% interest. And no matter which one you choose, I'll leave links in the description below where you can get a discount on any of these 3 machines. I can't guarantee that these links or codes are always going to work, so if you're looking to get the best discount on the internet for any of these juicers, I'd move quick.